Beneath the streets of Cincinnati, a subway was built, completed in parts, and then left to wait. No train ever carried a passenger through it. That is the clean fact. The strange part is what remains: long concrete tunnels under a busy Ohio city, sealed away from daily life, yet close enough to make the ground feel hollow. How does a public project become real enough to build, but never real enough to use? The answer begins in the 1920s, when Cincinnati planners faced a growing city and a hard urban problem. Streets were crowded. Cars, streetcars, workers, and goods all fought for space. A subway promised order below the surface. It could move people faster, clear the streets, and show that Cincinnati belonged to the modern age. On paper, the plan looked like progress. Under the paper waited a bill the city could not easily carry. Construction began with the confidence of that era. Crews cut into the earth and made a path for a future system. Concrete walls rose where trains were meant to pass. The project was not a sketch, and it was not an internet myth. It became physical Ohio infrastructure, built with public money and human labor. Yet the system stopped before the first passenger arrived, leaving a city with the bones of a subway and none of its daily life. The record gives us the central contradiction. The tunnels were built for motion, but became symbols of stillness. They were designed to connect parts of Cincinnati, but ended up dividing the known city above from a hidden city below. The construction was ambitious, while the final result was unusable. That gap between intention and outcome is where the mystery grows. A ghost story usually begins with a strange sound. This one begins with a budget. The economic collapse that followed changed what the city could afford. Money became scarce, priorities shifted, and the subway plan lost the support needed to finish the work. The tunnels did not fail because an unseen force blocked the rails. The project met a more ordinary enemy, a changing economy. That explanation is less dramatic, but it is also more troubling. A city can defeat its own future without meaning to. The unfinished system then entered a long, quiet afterlife. Above ground, Cincinnati changed. Buildings were repaired or replaced. Roads carried new kinds of traffic. People grew used to crossing the city without thinking about the space below their feet. Underground, the abandoned tunnels remained part of the landscape, even when most residents could not see them. Their silence was not empty. It held the shape of a plan that had once expected thousands of footsteps. For people who think in maps, the tunnels create a special kind of unease. A normal subway is easy to understand. It has stations, signs, schedules, and crowds. This subway has the shape of a public system without the public. It is infrastructure without service, a road with no journey. That makes it a liminal space, meaning a place caught between two states. Cincinnati's subway is neither fully alive nor fully gone. The concrete itself keeps the story honest. It does not whisper about lost trains. It shows where construction happened. It shows the scale of the work and the care built into a project that was expected to matter. The abandoned tunnels are not proof of a haunting. They are proof that a city once believed strongly enough in a plan to place it beneath the streets. The material evidence is plain. The meaning is not. Over time, local stories gathered around that gap. Abandoned places invite the imagination because they remove the usual signs of control. There are no workers, no passengers, and no ordinary reason to be there. Darkness fills the missing details. Urban exploration, the practice of entering and documenting forgotten structures, brought fresh attention to the tunnels. Each visit could reveal old surfaces and sealed passages, but also the limits of what anyone could safely or legally know. Online retellings made the subway sound even more secret. Some accounts blur fact with dramatic invention, presenting the tunnels as if they were hidden from the entire city or built for a purpose nobody understood. The record does not support that version. The project was public, planned, and tied to transportation. Its mystery is not that no one knows it existed. Its mystery is that everyone can know the reason, yet still feel something is missing. That feeling has a name in folklore, an egregore. It means a shared idea that grows stronger as a group repeats and reshapes it. Cincinnati's subway can work like that in the public mind. One person remembers abandoned tunnels. Another adds a story of sealed rooms. A third repeats an online claim. Soon the place carries more than its concrete history. It carries the city's shared picture of failure, secrecy, and wasted promise. Still, the human cost should not vanish beneath the legend. Construction was not magic. It demanded planning, labor, material, and trust. Workers made the hidden structure while residents were asked to believe in its future. When the money failed and the trains never came, the loss was more than an empty tunnel. It was lost effort, lost time, and a broken promise between a city and the people who expected it to grow. That broken promise also explains why the subway can feel personal. Cincinnati did not simply abandon a hole in the ground. It abandoned an image of itself as a city moving forward. Every unused section points back to a moment when leaders thought the future could be shaped with concrete and steel. The failure says that progress is not only about vision, it depends on timing, money, and public patience, all of which can disappear together. The tunnels also reveal a weakness in the way cities remember. Official history favors what opens, serves, and earns a place in maps. Failed projects are harder to place. They have no riders to recall, no daily routine, and no final chapter that feels complete. The Cincinnati Subway remains because it cannot be neatly filed as either success or ruin. It is a permanent draft, left under the finished city. That is why every claim about the tunnels needs care. A concrete passage is verified. The 1920s construction is part of the known story. The abandoned condition is visible in the system's lack of passenger service. But reports of strange activity belong to testimony or folklore unless they can be checked. No reliable evidence confirms a supernatural event below Cincinnati. The honest mystery is not whether ghosts ride there. It is why unfinished places make ordinary facts feel unreal. One plausible explanation is simple psychology. People enter a dark, quiet space expecting danger. Small sounds become large. Water, air, distant traffic, or shifting debris can seem like movement. Memory then fills in what the senses could not settle. A false memory is not a lie. It is a recollection changed by time, stress, and repeated stories. In an abandoned tunnel, the mind has very little light to work with. Another explanation is social. Cities teach people which spaces belong to them. A sidewalk belongs to everyone. A sealed tunnel does not. When a place sits outside normal public use, it becomes a blank screen for fear and pride. Cincinnati residents can see the subway as a warning about waste, a marvel of engineering, or a secret beneath familiar streets. All three views can exist at once, even when the concrete has not changed. The debate over what to do with the remains adds another layer. An abandoned structure can be cleared, sealed, preserved, or studied. Each choice carries a cost. Opening the tunnels could create safety risks and damage the very atmosphere that made them valuable to history. Leaving them closed protects the surface but also keeps the public at a distance. Preservation is not always a grand gesture. Sometimes it means deciding what not to touch. The strongest mystery, then, is not hidden in a locked room. It is visible in the city's choices. Cincinnati built a subway during a time of bold planning, lost the means to finish its dream, and then carried the remains into the present. The tunnels became a record of economic change, a lesson in urban risk, and a place where imagination could move faster than evidence. Return to the opening contradiction. The subway was made for passengers, yet no passenger ever used it. That sentence sounds like folklore because it is so clean, almost too perfect. But the plain fact needs no ghost story to be unsettling. A city spent years preparing for a future that never arrived, then built its later life over the silence. Perhaps that is why the abandoned Cincinnati subway still attracts attention. It is not only underground, it is behind us and ahead of us at the same time. It asks whether modern cities learn from failed plans or simply bury them beneath new roads and new promises. The tunnels remain sealed, but the question travels above them. When urban explorers, historians, and curious residents speak about the subway, they are not all telling the same story. Some focus on construction. Some see a warning about money. Some feel the pull of the hidden space itself. Those versions should not be forced into one answer. The differences matter because they show how a place becomes folklore without losing its factual core. Under Cincinnati, the old concrete still holds a future that never began. There are no schedules to restore, no lost passenger list, and no reliable evidence that anything paranormal waits in the dark. There is only the architecture, the abandoned plan, and the pressure of a city that kept moving above it. If the tunnels are quiet, why do they still sound like a promise waiting to be kept?